and welcome to How Do You Drew?
This is a Drew Barrymore podcast brought to you by thedrewseum.com.
And sponsored by our friends at Positive Medium.
I'm Anne.
And I'm Ashley.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to episode 40.
Hey.
Hey, that's a big deal.
That's kind of wild. It doesn't feel like we've done that many.
I can't even really.
You're speechless. You have no words. Words are your life.
Exactly. So let's just jump right in. I can't even really absorb the fact that we've done this for 40 episodes, but thank you everyone who's sticking around, and we're growing right now. So let's just say hello to all the new listeners that are apparently tuning in.
I know. And keep coming back, please.
Yes. And reach out to us. We want to know who you are, how you found us, all that stuff. So
I know.
We'll reiterate again to reach out, but just wanted to say hello at the top.
I like it. I have a cool cosmic coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's been a while since we've manifested something, but what's the last episode? Yeah. Fully talked about how much we would love to have production materials and we just love seeing them and on-set pictures and all that stuff. And then I think it was like the day after we recorded, I found this auction for Donnie Darko production materials.
No big deal.
No big deal at all. They're collected by sound mixer Coleman Metz. And not only are there call sheets and scripts and all
I want it all.
There's photos of everyone in the cast on set with this sound mixer, and including Drew.
Yep.
Really cute photo. I guess we'll have to share it. We won't keep it greedy to ourselves because now we're talking about it. That'd be rude.
Yep.
But damn. So I think the opening bid was $1,000, right?
Yeah. And I would love to just go into debt for this, but
what would you actually bid on it?
What would I actually pay?
Yeah.
I just saw a blue jay land on a tree. Sorry.
A perching birdie.
I see a perching birdie. Oh, you're so beautiful. Okay. I'm sorry. I would maybe pay like $500 for this stuff realistically, but
it's really special.
But not, I'm just kind of at a weird time in my life where I'm like, I can't even think about $1,000. Like I'm too busy with other expenses, but man, we would love to have this. I don't think there's anything else we can say about it, but we will link to it and you can check out for yourself how rad it is. We were able to grab a couple tidbits of information from it, so we'll be using some of that in our future Donnie Darko episode.
Even just that, I was like, yes, dates,
I know
stuff we love.
One thing we can say really quick that was fun is that the movie was shot in 28 days, and if you know the movie, the whole thing is a 28-day span of time. So I was like,
so cool.
Hell yeah. So that's one little tidbit.
I can't believe we didn't know that.
I sort of, when I heard it, I was like, did I know that? It feels too much of a coincidence not to know. Either way, that's the only thing we're going to report right now. Stay tuned in later in the year. We might have a Donnie Darko episode. Just maybe. Little teaser. All right. So what else you got?
Just another weird cosmic coincidence in our last episode. Again, I think we were asked if Drew would write another book, and we were talking about how she clearly has stated she has a lot more to say about her relationship with Jade and how her conversations with Jeanette McCurdy and Brooke Shields have really brought that forth. And then the day after we recorded, this article comes out, and we're going to get into that in a minute, but the New York Magazine article, and basically she's talking about exactly what we were talking about.
Yeah.
So just, we're in the universe synchronicity. Something's going on.
It doesn't matter if we're talking about 1992 or 2023 or Jade's going to come up, and that relationship has forever been complex. So we're looking forward to hearing more and more about it as Drew has her comfort with sharing it,
Yeah, which is probably pretty small right now, and we'll get into why.
Anyway. Yeah, exactly.
Stay tuned.
Okay, so it looks like we've got some mail for this week.
You've got mail.
Really exciting thing is, I'm going to say this at the top, thank you to everyone that left us reviews.
Yes!
We are so stoked on this.
I feel like I'm going to have a backlog now of You've Got Mail segments because I want to shout everybody out who left a review because we've been promising I would, right? Yeah. This actually, my first one is a comment that was left on our website, but I just really liked it and I thought we should read it.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'll go ahead and read it. It's from Nika, and they said, if you love Drew and want to hang out with her, I suggest everyone visits this podcast and Facebook page. It feels like you really know her and like she's just next to you. They light up my Drewby heart. Thank you and appreciate your efforts to make all this possible. More power.
Isn't that sweet?
Yes, everything about it, like they feel like they're hanging out with her. Like,
I know.
we're like, yeah, this is great.
That's the whole point.
And we agree. This is what we're making it for. So, of course, those that don't know this already are not listening. So tell your friends. Tell your friends.
Tell your friends if they want to hang out with Drew Barrymore, they can do it through our voices somehow.
Yes, exactly.
So thank you, Nika. And like I said, everybody else who left, we have some amazing reviews. Like some of them were a little too long to feature on our social media.
Yep.
And like, don't worry, they have been noticed and we will be shouting them out in the future.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you again, everyone. And Nika, thank you for your really sweet and amazing comment.
Yay.
So what did you pull for this week in Drew history?
All right, let's go back to June 13th, 2009. As we all know, this is a fun time in Drew style, I guess is the best way to put that.
Yep.
And so she attended Bonnaroo, the festival, with Justin Long, her boyfriend at the time. This is a festival that takes place in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
We noted that Jimmy Fallon was doing a comedy set, and perhaps that was like the impetus to them attending, but they went to a lot of stuff like this.
That's true.
That year. And of course, Drew was really into some kind of eccentric makeup at this time.
Yep.
She's got like silver streaks all over her face, maybe some gold.
I just realized that like one of the first times she wore like weird silvery white stuff was like 2003 for Charlie's Angels.
Yeah.
Like sometimes she just likes to play.
Actually, I think she did it on her 10th birthday too. I think she had like a very similar
That's true.
thing going on.
Very
We'll
similar to
side
this.
by side. Yeah.
Oh my God, you're going to have to do a side by side. That's so great. I'm going to go ahead and go through her outfit a little bit if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So she's got like a hugely oversized t-shirt that's basically see-through, looks really comfortable.
Why is it so cute?
I don't know. There's like a wrap skirt situation, very short and kind of like a turquoisey blue color, and then tall rain boots in this like full outfit picture that we've got. Can't miss the huge feather in the hair that she's got, and then some, white sunglasses. You just have to see it. It's so fun. This is what she had described as her like hedonist era.
Exactly what I was thinking.
And so there's some like really fun pictures of her dancing. It was probably so fun to see her hanging out at this event in 2009. Like I would have loved to be a fly on the wall.
Oh my God. I can't get over how high her skirt is hiked up on her leg. It's basically like to her crotch.
Yep.
And it looks like she joined Jimmy on stage like for something. Like there's pictures of her like running off the stage. So
she probably just went up and started dancing.
Yeah, probably
got the crowd
like
really
that.
excited. But so fun. We will definitely post a picture, but you should look this up. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, the last thing I wanted to say is part of the reason I picked this one is because the current issue of Drew magazine has a full page photo of Drew from it. So I thought it would be kind of fun to say, hey, that was exactly 14 years ago.
That's so cool. I'm so glad you pulled it, and how fun.
Ooh.
What a fun one to look back on. And we're thinking about doing a future episode soon about 2009. So we'll have more to say about that big year. So much stuff happened that year. Here's just our little teaser. So Donnie Darko teaser, 2009 teaser. You guys are sticking around, I hope.
We have more episodes to come.
Believe it or not, there are endless topics to talk about with Miss Drew Barrymore.
I know, Mila was like asking me again, but when are you going to what are you going to do when you run out of things to talk about? I was like, there's really probably no end. She has like 40 movies alone. Like
that sentiment and concern has been expressed to me as well. I'm like, don't worry. Like, I really genuinely don't anticipate us ever running out. There may be a point when we decide that we're done doing this, but we won't have covered every topic. Yes, like it won't be a problem. This is a person with a very rich life. Okay, so what's new with Drew this week? I know we've got some fun stuff to talk about, so let's jump into what's new with Drew.
Okay, let's start with the biggie, as we said at the top, the cover of New York Magazine, and it is a cool one.
It really does. Like, I just got to say really quickly, somebody commented on something like, it kind of has interview magazine 1990s
Yes.
Drew vibes. And I'm like, yes.
It totally, I mean, that literally the font, one of the fonts is
Yes.
exactly from one of her covers. So it's the June 5th through 18th issue. You can buy a single issue online and found where to do it. We will share the link in the episode page if you guys are interested. I already sent it to somebody who reached out and asked us. So
Cool.
we're waiting for our copies. We don't have them yet. They are en route.
I ordered mine from that. It's the past issues thing. And it said like possibly 4 to 6 weeks. I'm like, all right, at least it's better than not being able to get
Yeah,
it.
good point. Good point. All right. So the article is written by E. Alex Jung.
Mhm.
And the photos are taken by our man, Mark Seliger. Woo!
It was so fun to see them work together again.
I know, like actually see video of it.
Oh my God. I don't think we can really even say too much about it. We could gush about these photos for a while.
For a long time. Yeah.
But they're like around her apartment, around New York. My personal favorite are in her closet. And there's just like this very intimate moment. I pulled a quote from it later, but
okay. Yeah. Well, we knew about this closet with the affirmations on the wall. She had mentioned this to Jay Shetty on his podcast. Or no, actually, he was on her short-lived podcast way back. I think it was like September. And so in one of our first episodes, because we were new around that time, we talked about this and how like, I bet you we should go pull the audio. I bet you we said like, oh, I would love to see that room.
I'm sure we did.
And now we got to.
If I know myself well enough, I would have been like in her handwriting, just kind of gushing about that. So
it is amazing. You can really see a lot of things she wrote. I sent you like a text that was like, here's a bunch of the affirmations from Drew.
Yes. Also, there are some really, really beautiful, including the cover pictures of her taken inside of her shower at her apartment. And they're all just like of her face, like kind of like bust shots. And they're not bust as in her bust.
Sorry to tell you.
But they are so beautiful and really evoke this Mark Seliger 1990s feeling, like he's pulling this thing out. I mean, she also feels like she's getting in touch with this like playful part of herself again. So
I feel that too.
Yeah. So it's really great.
And then, of course, she has like some of her old standard people doing hair and makeup. So our lovely Deb Ferrulo, who we just adore and who's so sweet to us, she did the makeup, which is great because I feel like she usually only does Drew's makeup these days if she's in LA.
Yeah.
So I wonder if she like flew out for it. And then Orlando Pita did the hair, and he's done a couple shoots with Drew, but most notably, he did at least the second guest campaign shots. So
that's so cool.
Long time relationship. Only what? 20 years? Wait,
no big
20
deal.
Or 30? Shit,
I can't.
30.
You know what? It's 30 like 30 years. Yeah, no big deal. I'm like, let's stop doing the math and freaking ourselves out. Let us know what your little favorite little tidbits in the article were. And then I just have a few quotes to pull because that's my brand, apparently.
Okay. Well, I did like, there was this cute little part about when she was living with Tamara Davis and Mike D from the Beastie Boys. Speaking of, the Beastie Boys played Bonnaroo that year. That's funny. Anyway, that she like just showed up with a laundry basket and basically moved in. So, I mean, we knew that she lived with them, but something with the laundry basket I thought was really cute.
The time frame would have been like around what year?
Probably 91, right? When she was filming Gun Crazy.
Trip, right? Like,
yeah. She was so little, so young.
I know, it's weird to imagine.
Yeah. Another thing I thought was interesting, as it says, she financially supports Jade, which for some reason I just never considered that was a thing that was still happening. But
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised, but it's still, I went like,
to have it confirmed. We're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And I mean, we know she supported her dad.
Yeah.
So it's just like further proof of her parenting her parents.
Yep, absolutely.
I had never heard this before. Apparently, she turned down the role of Roller Girl in Boogie Nights.
Yep.
So Heather Graham ended up with that part. Oh, here's another little funny tidbit. Heather Graham plays the screen version of Casey Becker in the movie within a movie. In
oh,
interesting.
Tidbits galore.
Yeah, tidbits galore.
Tidbits galore is also our brand.
That is definitely our brand.
Yeah.
That could be like our subtitle. How do you Drew? Tidbits galore. But she said that she felt like it was too obvious of a choice in what she called, and I love this, her quote, tart exhibitionist free wildflower kitten era. We are definitely going to be using that.
But I picture a specific image when I see this.
Okay.
Like part of the Playboy shoot where she literally has the kittens on her.
I knew you were going to say that.
I'm just like, yeah, kitten on her head. Like she's a kitten hanging out with kittens. I think it's very accurate and it's kind of a Drewism.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I added this little tidbit and then I'll let you say your last one here. So I like that she said Nancy Givonin encouraged her to do rom-coms. And this is what Nancy said. You're mushy. It's annoying. You should share this with the world. And they're kind of talking about like how she was just constantly in love, constantly like exploring love. And in this article, she then is saying like, I don't know why I don't want a relationship now, but I was this person who was annoying about love. So I loved that part.
So cute.
Yeah.
And then one other thing I thought was really sweet that we'd never heard this before. Yeah. I'd love like finding out new old stuff.
Me too.
Sets my heart aflutter.
Tidbits galore.
Yep. Luke Wilson brought a bouquet of daisies to their first chemistry test for best men, which was just like
the cutest thing.
No wonder she said she fell in love with him on site.
No kidding. No, it's like the camels that she would follow anywhere. No wonder. It's like he came with daisies and she had hearts in her eyes.
She didn't mention the camel was carrying daisies.
A quote that I pulled from this section where Tamara Davis was talking about that, and she said, I was dealing with two people that were madly in love now, and it was so funny to watch him. She hypnotized him, and it's like, forget it. I just loved it so much.
96 Drew could do that, I'm sure.
Oh, God. She's hypnotized me, and it was, historical hypnosis. Okay, so I just wanted to pull these couple segments from the article. You all can read it, and I encourage you to do so, but this little segment about the closet solidified my feelings about it. Like, I felt these feelings without even reading this.
Okay.
Here's what E. Alex Jung wrote. Barrymore and I are sitting cross-legged on the floor facing each other, so close I can see a rim of green in her eyes and a horizontal wrinkle on her nose. We've taken a seat in a small walk-in closet in her bedroom. It has a slanted ceiling, and pink flamingo wallpaper covered in affirmations and aphorisms she's written, such as today is the day you start trusting yourself, spiritual superhero, and simply permission. There are longer, more diaristic reflections that read like ecstatic poetry. Listen to my body and soul. Treat myself as the mother I needed. Do not beat myself up. This is her meditation room, her room of revelations. She can come here and shut the door and be totally quiet.
Ooh,
you just feel good. Like so many emotions right there. Like I love the description of the space.
Yeah, wonderful writer.
Yeah, no kidding. So I just had to pull that out. And then this kind of links to what we were talking about with Jade. And I loved this because I just felt something deep about it, and I'll explain after I read it. This is a text that Drew sent to E. Alex Jung. I texted my mom for her birthday, and she told me she loved me and that she was proud of me. I don't care how old you get or how big your mission is. When your mom tells you she loves you, you revert back to small. And the fact that she loves me with my truth and my honesty is the best time I have ever heard her say it.
Fantastic. And also this is wild because you were saying these exact same in our details 1993, but we were talking about Drew's relationship with her dad. But
I know.
It's exactly the same thing. It's wild.
I know. So I was like, yeah. Anyway, this magazine is wonderful. Pictures, article, everything about it. I can't wait to get my hands on a copy so I can like really soak in these pictures in person.
I know. And from what I saw, I don't want to spoil it for you, but I think the two pictures in the closet are full page. So, but yes, so this is so great that I decided both of our Drewisms of the week should come from this article.
Love it.
Oh, someone's picking up, those cool little isms that we do.
Let's hear them.
All right. The first one is, I've been a circus bear my whole life. I swear to God, if the ringmaster left the tent, I would become the ringmaster and start like flagellating myself, which is like, it's sad, but it's also true. So like, do you not have an image in your head of this little circus bear?
With Drew's face on it? Yeah.
Cute. This is what we need an animator.
Oh my God. I was just going to say we need an animator for the Drewism segment specifically. I think once we get our ad revenue like really ramped up, we're going to hire an animator.
Perfect.
Okay, here's the other one that I also love. She's talking about kind of making brands that she finds to be like useful to people. She says, I want to be cereal and toilet paper and underwear. Just commonly used things that don't make you angry and bring us all together. Who could be mad at those things? I mean,
it's so true. So
I love it so much.
She sure does like talking about underwear lately.
That's so great.
All right. So we got to take a turn.
Yeah, I know.
So we get like the morning this comes out. It's like so exciting. Yes, this is so cool. Oh my God, this article, these photos, great. And like she's sharing it and everybody worked on it, sharing it. Wonderful. And then it takes this total nosedive because of freaking idiots like the Daily Mail and Page Six. I will call you out by name. Perez Hilton. I saw you all. They took a quote completely out of context where Drew was saying like, you know, she's seen Brooke Shields and Jeanette McCurdy be able to kind of grow and start processing the things with their moms because their moms have passed away. And Drew said, I can't wait to do that. AKA, I need to do that now.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Like, not like, oh, I'm so excited. More like it needs to happen now. And instead, these headlines were blasted everywhere saying Drew wishes her mom was dead. Drew can't wait for her mom to die. And it's like, you know how I feel about false information being.
I mean, we've had other instances where we're like, we're not going to report on this.
Yeah, and maybe we wouldn't have, but Drew addressed it.
If you want to hear her response to this, which is obviously that is completely false, she says something like, I wouldn't even want to live in a world where I would feel that way.
Yeah.
She is so upset. And she's like, you guys have been fucking with me since I was 13. Like anyway. Yeah. Moving on.
Exactly.
Yes.
Last little just new thing that happened over the week. So I feel like she kind of went into hiding after that. Like,
yeah, a little bit.
Like, which I don't blame her for.
Yeah.
But she did quietly attend this one woman show by Jacqueline Novak. It's called Get on Your Knees. I guess it came out in 2019 and it was presented by Natasha Leone and executive produced by Mike Birbiglia, which makes sense that Drew would be interested in this, but it's been on tour. So it was back in New York and she went with Chelsea Handler. And I will just say that it's funny, Drew's wearing the same hat and glasses, quote unquote, disguise that we mentioned when she went to the Taylor Swift concert. So I was like, oh, this is just her incognito. I'm going to a show.
Did we say why we know that she was there?
Chelsea Handler shared stories on Instagram, and luckily our friend Renata caught them and made us aware so we didn't miss them.
Yes.
We'll share a picture. Okay,
so now I had this idea for a new segment because the internet is full of negative comments and negativity, but I find that often surrounding Drew, we got some nice comments. So yeah, I'm introducing the Kind Comments Corner where we will...
I love this idea.
So we will just have, kind of a nice comment about Drew. And I'm going to try to find ones where somebody has like a personal connection. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and read it. Skylab68 commented on the New York Mag Instagram page when they announced Drew's magazine cover. And they said, went to a show in person, and Drew is not only a consummate professional who treats her team with respect, but also incredibly warm and approachable with her audience. Irrefutably genuine, fun-loving, and empathetic.
Aww,
I just love that. It's just a wonderful little bow wrapped around their experience that we have witnessed as well. So.
I know. I'm like, yes, this is all true. I agree,
Skylab. Thank you, Skylab68, for allowing us to steal your words and put them on our podcast that you'll never hear. Maybe someone will hear it and be like, I know them.
That'd be awesome.
So I think we might be ready for this weekly topic.
Okay, let's talk about Rebel Homemaker.
Yay!
Yeah, so this is Drew's 2021 cookbook that she did with Pilar Valdes. And this is her most recent publication, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think so. So, I mean, if you all don't know, she has Little Girl Lost, then Find It at Everything, and then Wildflower. And now Rebel Homemaker.
Okay, so let's kind of talk about the background. So Drew has said that she got into cookbooks when she was pregnant with Olive. We know she is fanatical about cookbooks now. She's got her cookbook club, cookbook collection, all of it.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen pictures of her kitchen, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And her very first one was William Sonoma's Soup of the Day.
Mm-hmm.
She was making soups in the heat.
Yep. Yep.
She was super pregnant.
She mentions it in part of the book. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit when we get to that.
So I'll fill you guys in quickly on how she and Pilar met.
Mm-hmm.
So this was all happening when Drew was getting divorced, and she was in what she calls like her sad rental apartment in New York. This is like the darkest time of her life.
Yeah.
She was already this cookbook collector, but they were all in boxes because she didn't have like a permanent place.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, Pilar was transitioning from running her own catering company.
Mm-hmm.
And Pilar said that she got an email at like 4 a.m. one morning, and it was asking if she wanted to be a personal chef for Drew Barrymore. Like she thought it was a joke at first, you know, but yeah, obviously the rest is history. Drew said that cooking together helped her forget about all her problems. She said it was something I could hook into when my life felt so floating. So just a really like special relationship that came at a time that Drew really needed it.
Yep. There's a sweet quote from Pilar about Drew. She said, "I feel like Drew threw out the idea of a cookbook fairly early on after I'd met her. But at the time, it was just this little spark of an idea. Drew does that occasionally. She'll have a little dream that she'll sprinkle here and there and kind of walk away and sort of see how it settles." Which totally sounds like Drew.
I know, I love that. Well said,
so
Pilar. And then Drew got to work with Jill Schwartzman on this book, who was also the editor of Wildflowers. So she said she knew she was in safe hands with her, which is really sweet.
Yeah. So they spent countless hours, Drew and Pilar, cooking together in the kitchen. Most of the recipes in this case were written by Pilar, and then the recipe development was done by someone named Nora Singley. So they had someone else kind of help them develop the recipes and make them repeatable, I assume, because it's kind of a crazy process when you think about it.
I know, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Drew said that she loves the word rebel because it's bombastic without being angry, and she can't stand rules.
Yeah.
That when I try to create them, they blow up in my face. And then because she grew up in this unorthodox way, and when she looked up the definition of the word homemaker, she got even more rebellious. So she's just like, that was the perfect title.
Yep.
And when they were on The View promoting the book, Drew said that the veneer of a perfect, like, do as I do cookbook was just imposter syndrome city to her. So she's like, not doing that. This is going to be a real, authentic experience.
Yeah. It has that feeling of like when you go to a blog and read a story and then have the recipe.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really cool. So now let's get into the book, starting with the photos.
Yay.
So the photos, there are two groups of photos in the book scattered about. There are professional photos and then many personal photos taken by Drew herself. The professional photos were taken by Graydon Harriet. So there would be some sort of level of aspiration to the photos themselves. She didn't want it to just feel like totally at home, I guess. So this duo also did the original photos for Beautiful and the early Drew magazine. So that's really cool that they kind of got to repair with that group and that she felt comfortable. Then once again, she's got like her editor from that.
Yeah. She's definitely loves to keep the same people coming back.
Totally.
And then, of course, like we said, there's personal photos by Drew because she wanted it to be authentic to herself. So we see her garden, her cats, her chickens, lots of cooking, just basically Drew's life at this time. And she said, I relate food to love, to feeding my family. I don't want the food in the book to look perfect. I'm a mom, not a chef.
Okay, so one thing I noticed, there were very few pictures of her kids, though she does talk about them a lot and talks about that kind of like creating a home for her kids was such a huge like thing surrounding cooking. So I was surprised, but then as I was looking through, there are a few. So there's one of Frankie hanging out by the planters in their backyard, and there are a couple of pictures of them at Christmas, but it's mostly Drew and her cooking and Pilar. I mean, it's really a lot of fun. And her plants and her garden and, you know, her surroundings.
Yeah. Even the pictures of the girls, like you can't see their faces. And I'm like, she definitely is holding to sort of this idea she's created in the last several years of like, she doesn't want to put them out there.
Yep.
So,
which makes sense. But they're present in the writing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's get into our favorites in the book. There are many, many photos. I'll mention a few when we talk about the writing, just because I think they're worth mentioning. But let's talk about our favorites. What are your favorites in the book, Ashley?
Okay, I just went real quick. Like you said, I think there's like 300 pictures.
Yeah, there's a lot.
So like just off top of my head, I love the professional ones of her sitting at the table with her legs up, eating her Cali tartine sandwich.
Yep.
Those are on pages 70 and 71. There's
They
4
are
of them.
so cute.
So cute. There's a personal one of her winking with the cherry tomato. And I love that one. That's on 79.
Cute. It's such a cute one.
There's one, for some reason, I just really love of white flowers in her garden. I think it's echinacea from what I looked up.
Sounds right.
Those are on page 45. They have like a daisy vibe to them. So it's probably why I like it.
And it's really sweet. It has a cool, I can almost picture them like flowing in the wind or something.
Yeah. And then there's a really cute selfie that she took on the beach on page 220. That's beautiful.
Yeah, that one I also loved, but I picked other ones because I couldn't help myself.
There's a lot of good ones.
Yeah, so my favorite, starting with page 19, is a picture of her with a breakfast that her daughters made for her of toast, eggs, and sausage. It's really, really cute. And then if you jump to page 26, we've got this really cute picture of her with a Band-Aid on her finger, and then it's followed by a few pages later a series of like clearly she like hurt her finger, had to put a Band-Aid on, had to deal with that, and then had her meal. So it's a really fun series. So this page 26 and then page 32 and 33, they're just too much fun. And then I loved on page 36, it's just funny, a lot of them ended up in the beginning, a picture of her with one of the chickens on her shoulder. And it looks like it's in kind of like red lighting. So I think it's under like heating lamps when you have young chickens. It's really cute. She's got a very similar, if not, maybe not like the same beanie, but very similar.
Got a lot of these like knit beanies.
Chunky beanie. It's just very sweet. She's making an expression that has a very like childlike, innocent, sweet. That's how I would feel if I was hanging out with a bunch of little chickens, you know? And then for some reason there's a picture on 182 of her with an immersion blender. But I love this one because it's clearly candid. She's wearing like kind of a sweatery t-shirt and it's got a big hole in it. She just looks like so comfortable. You can see her kitchen. You can see all the cookbooks. And then finally, page 222, which is the very last big picture in the book, I believe. And I don't know. There's something really cute about it. I think it's the page after beach selfie. It is. So she's got apples that look like are like freshly picked off of an apple tree. And I'm guessing this because it just doesn't it look that way to you?
Oh, it totally looks that way. I totally think that's what's going on.
Clearly, like, looks like it's taken by her, and she's wearing a Care Bears apron, which I'm just like, is that
I didn't even
girls?
Notice that.
It's just like you see like the collar of it. I don't know what the hat is, but she's wearing like a brown baseball cap. It's just a cute photo and just feels very like something I would take if I wanted to be like, look, Mom and Dad, I picked apples from my tree. You know, like it just feels like very like I'm sharing my life and I'm joyful about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It has a vibe to it.
It's a good one.
So those are a couple faves. Sorry to list so many, but they're just so good. And we will share at least these favorites on the episode page. So check them out.
Yeah. howdoyoudrew.com.
Or get yourself a copy of the book. If you
Better yet, do that. So the book was written in 2020.
Yep.
So it's very much a product of the pandemic in that time. So like the writing, especially at the beginning, is like totally in that vibe. You can see she has masks on in some of the photos. So it's like a time capsule in a way.
Yeah. And a lot of the writing, not even a lot of the quotes I pulled out, are about that experience, about like the resilience of us as humans through this process. And that being like the frame around which the book was made is
totally
very interesting. Like, you know, all of us experienced this totally different thing that year. And it's like you said, a time capsule is the perfect word.
Yeah.
So let's jump into the intro, which, like you said, you wrote that it's very stream of consciousness. It's almost like a poem. And interestingly enough, that section that I pulled from New York Mag, that was the text.
Feels the same. I felt the same way, like a poem.
Yeah. So I just pulled one fun part. So a lot of that intro is about kind of the pandemic feelings. But this particular part I loved, not because it was surprising to us. I just thought it was cute. So towards the end, she says, And anytime I am in need of comfort, I turn to Kraft macaroni and cheese, deluxe, not powder, with cracked black pepper and Dumb and Dumber. This always makes me happy.
Classic Drew.
Yeah, so good.
The next part is she has this pretty long segment called I Am Writing. And this was part of this is in her original blog post. So on drewbarrymoreblog.com that the very first one she made in April 2020, this has a lot of the same, it's like copy pasted, but you had a couple quotes you pulled.
I just liked pulling stuff that felt like it gave us maybe not new insight into her life, but just something that felt personal that I liked. So on page 6, there's a quote that mentions Nancy. And this again is talking about the pandemic. I myself have put my shiny tech things down and picked up writing. My business partner, Nancy Javonen, always tells me no matter what I'm going through in my life, I should write. Heartbreak? Write. Lost? Write. And then another quote that I pulled from this same section on page 10 said, I'm going to look at the baby chickens and marvel at their cuteness. I'm going to do as much as I can to stay hopeful, knowing I'm going to fall hard and have to dust myself off again. I'm going to feel insecure about sharing this. I'm going to wipe the tears that are streaming down my face right now and then freak out about touching my face.
Just like, so of the time.
Yeah. Time capsule vibes.
And then right after that, we get this, I love this part, 30 meals of a lifetime.
Yes.
It's just really fun. I was like, God, I don't think I could make a list like that. Like she obviously pays more attention to her meals than I do. They like really seem to encompass her whole life because there's like some that you can tell were from childhood and some that are from LA spots.
Yes.
There's one during the filming of 50 First Dates. There's like her 40th birthday, times with Will. Like it's a great like front to back all of the years.
So I flagged a few fun ones that I thought would just be worth mentioning. So number 5 is my mom's tuna noodle casserole. And I don't know if I've heard her mention this until reading this book.
Oh, well, yeah, because this is where the whole cream of mushrooms soup thing with Pilar comes in. Yeah,
exactly. So we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But I was just like, I don't remember that, but I totally have like a sense memory about tuna noodle casserole. Like I think my mom made the same thing. So I can like taste it.
The funny thing is there are like 2 times in my life I remember like crying at the dinner table being forced to eat something.
And was one of this?
And one of them was tuna casserole.
Oh no.
So, that was
terrible.
A one and done for me.
Okay. So you don't have good memories about it.
Nope.
So this fits with one of the quotes I pulled. So number 7 is eating a box of Kraft macaroni and cheese with lots of cracked pepper and a giant bottle of red wine, crying to Sex and the City after my boyfriend broke up with me. So I don't know obviously which boyfriend specifically she's talking about, but I love how like it's going to be Kraft and Dumb and Dumber or Kraft and Sex and the City, depending on the mood.
Sounds about right.
Yes. Number 10, which I know you have kind of a story to go along with. So is driving through the In-N-Out drive-through in California. You never have a better cheeseburger in your life.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny. And I might have mentioned this on our very first episode, but the first time I saw Drew on a talk show by happenstance and thought she was amazing was in 1998 when she was promoting The Wedding Singer and she was on Rosie O'Donnell's show and they were filming it in LA. Like normally that show filmed in New York.
Yeah.
And Drew brought In-N-Out for Rosie to try. And Drew was a vegetarian at the time and she had a grilled cheese. And I didn't know that that was the thing you could do.
Yeah.
And so like soon after my friends went to In-N-Out and I was like, cool, I can go and order something. I know what to get. Like Drew Barrymore taught me this. So it's funny because I still obviously eat those all the time. And
yeah,
this was Drew.
It's genuinely one of my favorite places to eat. And I think it is yours as well. And but I'm sure you've probably gotten people being like, what do you eat there? Every time you tell somebody. It's like such a funny thing. What I thought you were going to say is that didn't you go through the In-N-Out drive-through in Hollywood and like they said that Drew had come through, or did we know Drew came through a specific drive-through?
Oh, no. We've seen pictures of her and Fab at the one, I think it's on Sunset, that we used to go to a lot. There's pictures of them there.
2 more I wanted to read on here. So number 15, I just liked this. It says, every food truck breakfast burrito from every film I've ever been on. I get the same thing, jack cheese, spinach, mushrooms, and an egg with a side of hot sauce. Breakfast of champions. I love breakfast burritos. I don't think they're a thing that you really like, right?
Jason, my husband, makes a really, really good one that I absolutely love. But it's not a thing I would ever like for sure know I was going to like at a restaurant because I'm kind of weird about eggs. So
okay, yeah. So they do vary, but I don't think I've ever met a breakfast burrito I didn't like. So I agreed with this and I had to note it.
I also like that one because we know that Drew has brought fun food trucks to a lot of film sets. So I thought that was cool.
So it's fun to be able to mention that. Yeah. Okay, then the last one I noted here, and there are a bunch. I just kind of was like, these are fun. Number 20 says drinking a Himalayan burnt sea salt margarita, which I was like, fuck yeah. And then it says, and then they threw in crunchy crickets. And I was like, hell no, thank you. But I ended up eating like 50. Turns out they really are delicious. So I just really liked that. So this segment's really fun. And like Ashley said, it kind of crosses over her whole life.
Yeah, it's great.
And like the whole world. It's really,
yes,
it's really cool.
It is. So we get about 9 story-ish segments throughout the book. They're intermingled with recipes. Obviously, there are recipes in this book. It doesn't sound like it so far, but but yeah. So the first one, I think it's kind of the longest one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's titled, Who Am I to Write a Cookbook? And it's mostly about the theme of home. And I barely pulled any quotes because I was doing this all quickly, not detailed like you did, but I did pull this quote.
That's why we're working together here.
That's true. I pulled this quote because we're so like still mourning her LA house that she had from 2002 till her divorce. So I just wanted to read this. She said, I'd found the place where I truly thought my roots would never be cut off. A house on Curson Terrace, right in the 90046. A house that I'd spend the next 20 years making a home, the anchor I had always wanted with all the things I had collected throughout my life. My daughters were born and I brought them through the threshold of that home thinking we would be there forever. I idealized it, that my kids would have it different than I did. My kids would be able to come back to their childhood home when they were older and they would be able to sleep in the rooms they were raised in. But then guess what happened?
Yeah.
It just made me so sad.
I know. I think we've kind of talked about, I know we have, I don't know what episode we talked about it on, but just about how we're like, we miss her being in Hollywood, being in LA and being able to like go to, I mean, not that I'm on the East Coast now. So some of the things that are talked about here, I definitely relate to.
Yeah.
But to be able to like drop off a gift at Flower Films by being in LA was such a cool thing.
And just like, it just makes me sad for her because I really see what she's talking about, like what the house represented. And then it was just like, nope.
Yep, exactly. And, you know, she made this choice for her family, which is something that she doesn't regret, but it's also interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I liked in the next paragraph, though, she talks about Manhattan because she found herself in Manhattan a lot throughout her life, but it never really settled there until she had to much later. So there was this Druism. After she says she always felt like she had battled Manhattan. And she said, the second I would land at any of the nearby airports, I felt like I was plugging into a human electrical socket. And she just talks about like the wildlife, the partying. And I couldn't help but think of, you know, that she stripped in New York City, that like when we talked to Jonathan Van Meter, he said that he had kept hearing stories about seeing Drew around New York City, right? Right before he first met her, and that like when he finally did get to meet her, it was like, oh my God, she's like the, you know, how cool she was like no exaggeration. Like she was like fun and cool. And she definitely had this like life in New York at these little moments in her life that gave her this feeling like that wasn't the type of place that you have a home, you know, like she had this feeling, but she had to kind of change her mind. Ultimately, she decided after a while of living bi-coastal with her daughters that she couldn't live that double life anymore, which led to her having to sell the house in LA.
Boo.
I know. And I know I've been talking for a while, but I just have to say on page 35, there are these pictures of her. Well, 3 of them have her hands holding chickens, like young chickens. And I love it so much. It's her hands.
Yeah.
And I'm a hand person. So
I was going to say, those are very you pictures.
Yeah, they're really sweet. I like to imagine that her daughters like took them, but it could have, I don't know, who knows?
Aww.
I just love it. And just one more quote from this section before we move on. On page 46, there was a quote that I just thought encapsulated it well. It said, all my original plans got blown up, and if I can't have a sense of humor about it, I won't make it in this world. So I just love that.
Oh, poor Drew.
I know.
Okay. The second section of writing, it's titled Creating a Space Where You Love to Eat and Cook. Starts on page 57. And it starts with a really cute picture of Drew with her cat, Lucky. Pilar compliments Drew on how welcoming and warm her spaces are, which of course. But I thought this was fun that she kind of describes tablescaping in a way that I felt was really reminiscent of the descriptions of the tables at her wedding to Tom, because it was like vintage tablecloths collected and all these things.
Yeah.
And then I flipped the page and the very next thing she says is, the last thing I want it to feel like is a wedding. I was like, oh, well, I guess your wedding didn't feel like a wedding. I don't know.
Or she didn't want to be reminded of that.
Or that.
I mean, who knows? Who knows? But it is kind of a funny thing. But all of these segments, I mean, we're just pulling little snippets. It's like, you got to see these for yourself. They're all a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and jump to the next section. Like I said, we could go on about these forever, which starts on page 81. And it's titled Learning to Cook with Pilar. So this is kind of why we know so much about the process of the cookbook. It's so cool. Like in the cookbook, they're talking about the process of creating the cookbook.
True. So
it's like, I don't know if that's common in cookbooks. This section talks about how their relationship developed, post-divorce from Will. She felt lost and unhappy. And they bonded, Pilar and Drew, over their mutual sentimental love for Campbell's cream of mushroom soup, which there's a cute picture of them holding the can later in the book on page 149. It's really cute. Drew's memories come from her mom's famous tuna noodle casserole. And Pilar had a memory of it because her mom would serve it to her when she was sick.
Yeah, so it was this cool thing that they both, like, on opposite sides of the world, had the same, like, sort of nice nostalgic feeling.
You kind of said a similar quote earlier, but this one I pulled straight from this section. So she said when she met Pilar, she was, quote, living in a New York rental, newly divorced, and pretty much flipping out and trying to just keep my head above water and survive. Pilar was a safe harbor in a storm.
So sweet. So like we said, she was collecting cookbooks, and it started when she was pregnant with Olive. She didn't have a real kitchen and couldn't cook the food. The books were important to her.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you, didn't we hear somebody talk to her about how her LA home had like a terrible kitchen?
Yeah, it was Cameron Diaz. You're right. And I guess like Gwyneth Paltrow made a specific comment about her oven or something.
That's
and it was
right.
unusable. But I can't tell if she's talking here about that kitchen or the like New York rental.
Oh,
kitchen.
I see.
So I don't know, but either way.
Oh, you know what? I think when it was talking about it was talking about how when she was collecting cookbooks, she didn't necessarily have a place to cook. So I think she's talking about still being in LA.
Okay.
And then maybe also, like, neither time did she have a real kitchen to cook with.
Yeah.
But I think she was kind of talking about her LA home, which made me think of, I think I am actually thinking of the Gwyneth Paltrow situation where she was like, yeah, you'd have parties, but we couldn't cook there, or like something like
her
that.
and Cameron were having the conversation about that. So that you're on the right track.
Yes. So this next quote is just something I thought was cute, even though we totally know this. I was just like, yeah, me too. So the quote from Drew, flour happens to be my favorite ingredient on the planet, and all of my favorite foods are cheesy, carby foods. But that's more my comfort zone. And they really get out of that comfort zone in this book. Like, it's a lot of like fresh ingredients, and pretty amazing what they've done with this book. And for so many of them, for us to be like drooling, even though they're not macaroni and cheese.
Yeah. And then this is just really sweet how Drew says she's self-made and Pilar is self-taught.
I thought that was a lot of fun, and it goes well with that cute picture of them with those t-shirts on page 83.
So good.
It's really cute. That was something that connected on.
The next section, the fourth one, is about Drew cooking with her daughters. It's called Ramen Scissors, and it starts on page 103. It's really cute. It has this photo of a bowl of ramen noodles. And there's a pair of scissors in there because they saw something on TikTok about cutting your ramen with scissors and they wanted to try it.
It's really cute. This is where she talks about learning to make soups in record heat in California. Drew said, like 8 months pregnant, trying to make hot soup, sweating my ass off. It did not look the way it was supposed to in my head. And I was trying to remember where we had heard her talk about this. Like, I feel like it was way before the cookbook was like, in our minds. Yeah, I feel like I remember her like talking about starting to learn to cook, like on some talk show, but I could be completely
Oh, yeah, that
wrong.
makes sense. It was probably right after Olive was born. She was probably talking about it.
Probably.
Okay.
I'm just like trying to kind of remember, like, because that felt so familiar, especially the, like, it did not look the way it was supposed to in my head, because I feel like she's always like in the kitchen. I'm like,
yeah, which I so relate to. That's why I sent you that gif of her on the talk show. I was like, this is going to be me when I'm doing my recipe, running around all.
Before we go on to the next section, I just wanted to say page 113, there's another hand photo that I love.
Now I gotta go look.
Part of the lemongrass beef skewers recipe, so I'm sure you just really want to see her handling some meat right now.
Yeah, you're right. I went right over it. I was like, next.
But you can see her breathe tattoo. She's wearing her big chunky silver watch that you see her a lot with in this book. I just love this set of pictures because it's her hands, and I love her hands.
Next one is about cooking for her daughters rather than with. It's called Lather, Rinse, Repeat. I definitely relate to this one as a mom.
Yep.
There's a cute little picture of lunches for her girls that have their names on Post-its.
We talked about the handwriting.
Well, there's a lot of yeah, I guess we should say this now. There's a lot of pictures in the book that you might think at first are Drew's handwriting, but they're all Pilar's. It's like they have a similar way of stringing their letters together, but I'm a handwriting person. Like I've always really been into handwriting analysis and like that sort of thing. So I definitely took the time when I got this book to like figure out if it was Drew's or not, which sounds creepy. It's not from a creepy place. I promise.
I also love handwriting, but you like having gone through that and me like coming in and being like, is this? You're like, hold on, I did the research. Anyway, so continue with what you were saying.
Yeah, so I just love this quote. This was one of the few quotes I pulled. I'm just another parent trying to feed my kids and do the best I can. Some days I fail and some days I feel like I succeed. And let me tell you, that is very true.
You're like relatable.
Right now, it's really easy to feed one of my kids because she just drinks breast milk. But my other one, not so much. TMI? I don't know.
It doesn't matter. I love it. Like you were going to say it's easy to feed one, and I thought you were going to say because Mila like feeds herself. But
well, there is that. But is she making great choices?
Well, you know, who is at that age?
Some days I fail, some days I succeed.
Yes. Okay, so now I'm jumping to page 143, our next segment with some writing. Once again, we're just jumping past recipes for now. We'll talk about some a little bit later. So now we're at Serve Hot, page 143. In this one, she talks about a learning moment that she and Pilar had, where they had this experience of cooking for an important person. They don't say who it was, but somebody they wanted to impress. And Drew over-entertained so much that the food was served way too cold. And they were like, that was a complete failure. We did not impress this person with our cooking. And I forget which recipe it is. I think they might say, it's the chickpea carbonara.
Okay. Yeah.
So it basically turned completely hard.
It's just hilarious. Like Drew probably started talking too much and then
I can just completely picture it.
The next section is about her first Thanksgiving in New York. It's on page 151. And one thing that's fun is that they write Chris sent a piñata for the kids. I have to assume that's Chris Miller. So that's really sweet.
Yeah, it has to be. I love that so much. They talk about the irreplaceability of French's fried onions in green bean casserole, which, are you familiar with those?
That was never a thing in my family, but I like the crunchy onions for sure.
Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about, like specifically the onions.
Yeah.
So in green bean casserole, Drew says, you can't replace those. They know what they're doing. Whereas some of the other ones would be like, what's a healthier alternative to French's fried onions? They know what they're doing, according to Drew. My grandmother always brought green bean casserole to Thanksgiving when she was still alive. And so I have this like memory of that and it getting like slightly less good as she got older.
Oh.
I still always associate that with my grandmother bringing it at Thanksgiving up into like her 70s. Like it's really sweet.
Oh. The next section is just about beautiful cookware. If you want to know more about that, we have a whole episode on all the different Barrymore brands. That's our episode 18. And we really get into the beautiful cookware line there. So go check that out there.
Yep, it's really cool. Starts on page 167. But yeah, if you want to just sit back and listen, check out our episode. Okay, so now we have Oh, the Holidays. That's about holidays and parties, beginning on page 185. I do love the picture beginning of this too. She's hugging like a massive pumpkin. And she's got a mask on.
She's wearing a mask and she's outside. I'm like,
and she has one of these like chunky beanies. Like she's kind of, it's pandemic, but also she looks like she's in disguise. We kind of all look like we were in disguises during the pandemic, didn't we? It's like if you were wearing sunglasses and a hat and a mask,
no one knew who you were.
So there are some cute pictures of Drew's holiday decorations in this section. There are a couple pictures of her by the Christmas tree that are like really cute because it kind of gives you like a feeling of that space with the tree, which I think is really sweet. I love that Drew calls herself, quote, a very old Jewish grandmother who says things like, "Sit down, darling, have you eaten?" And Pilar's response to that is, "And that's so true to your nature. You're a deeply caring person and you make people feel good that way."
Oh.
I loved that. It was really sweet.
Very sweet.
And okay, Anne's got to pull out another series of pictures here. Once again, there are some pictures of her hands in this section.
This is your new brand, Drew's Hands brand.
It is. And you can see her Olive and Frankie tattoo poking out from under her watch. And then on the next page where she's squeezing lemons, you can see her breathe tattoo really clearly. They're just like really great photos of her tattoos in this case. So it's like,
yeah, you're right. I'm looking at them right now. They are really good pictures.
And I know, Ashley, you love looking at like shrimp being grilled.
See, again, my eyes just went right
exactly.
over these. But you're right. Like her breathe tattoo looks awesome there.
Yeah, it does. This might be like one of the best pictures I've seen of it.
I'm gonna take a picture of it.
Cool.
And then we get to basically the last thing in the book. It's called Evergreen. It starts on page 215. Mm-hmm. It talks about experiencing the seasons for the first time when Drew was living in New York, mm-hmm. and how, during that really rough time in her life, the worst time of her life, she really felt healed by nature, mm-hmm. and gardening and like the cycles of how the seasons went and all of that.
Mm-hmm. This is a really cool section. The first picture in here, I'm sorry, you said you didn't want to talk a lot about pictures, but another tattoo picture. And I feel like we haven't seen a picture this clear of her blue moon in a long time. So look on page 214. So it's a picture of some like beautiful veggies. I'm guessing it's like her haul from her garden. If it is, like, that's quite impressive.
It is amazing.
And then her cute little foot and the tattoo looking quite unrecognizable as a moon.
It does not look like a moon anymore.
No.
Oh.
But it's a cool picture because once again, like, that means we know she took it. It's like literally her perspective. So it's a rad picture. And regarding her experiencing many seasons, and I love this because literally this is like basically me.
Yeah.
She said, "So many people know the cycles by heart, but I have lived my whole life in sunny California. And since I almost said my birth year. And since 1975, I could rely on good weather 365 days a year." She then talks in here about like there's rain like once a year and we love it, but here we go. So she says, "My dependable optimism is probably rooted in 75 degrees and sunny lifestyle that I was born in, raised in, and remained in until I moved to New York for my family." When she says her dependable optimism, like that truly is her.
Yeah.
And I love that she's comparing it to the seasons. Like, I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. This was fun. She has this like an exchange with an employee named Paige when she went to a nursery, mm-hmm. who kind of like looked at Drew and doubted that she could do what she was trying to do. And she told Drew to get a landscaper.
Yep.
And then Drew looked her in the eyes and said, "I'm doing this myself. We all have to rely on ourselves right now. And this is going to be my project. I'm going to pour myself into this. And it's a spiritual endeavor. I'm going to go piece by piece. So show me some fucking plants, please." And then this woman went from a stern face into a wry smile and they became friends.
I think it's really cute. I like that she continues and says that Paige was into the fact that she didn't have cookie cutter tastes. And she felt like that style was perfect for the rebel homemaker in Drew.
So cute. Pulled this quote on page 219 where Drew says, "I think one of the hardest parts when life is scary and gets turned upside down is to trust that things will heal. If there's an answer, it's patience, and the healing is up to me." It sort of like summarizes the whole book in a way.
Exactly. And so that quote I kind of pulled in chunks because I was like, I want to get like the feeling of it. I'm going to go ahead and read the last paragraph in this section because I feel like it's just beautifully written and kind of once again like encapsulates it. So on page 223, next to the adorable picture of her with the apples, it says, "Life goes in cycles, as in nature, and we hold on tight, trying to witness as much as we can. I look away and our kids are a year older. I've been doing this crazy talk show job for a year now, and all of a sudden the tree outside has leaves. Blink and you could miss it. But if we are forced to stop and stare and wait, it all goes in slow motion. But it does come alive again. The cycle takes place, and the roller coaster goes up and down. But it is lovely, emotional, complex, and a truly beautiful ride.
Oh, so Drew.
I just thought that. I know, it's so Drew, exactly. And I literally had this feeling, and I just had to bring my own experience because this is what richens the stuff for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing that you went through the same thing recently.
Honestly, I have to just say I haven't really absorbed this book fully until now. I probably skimmed it when I got it, looked at the recipes, maybe skimmed the writings, but shamefully, I haven't really read it till now, and I think it's perfect that I did.
Yeah, maybe it was meant to be.
Yeah. And this is one of the only books, part of my Drew collection, that I brought with me because I was like, I need this. And I have a couple copies. So I was like, this is my reading copy. But the one last thing I wanted to say, when she says, and all of a sudden the tree outside has leaves, because I'm experiencing spring, we're kind of like things are kind of fully filled up again. But I walked to the end of my driveway earlier yesterday and I went, oh my God, it looks so different. Like, it's a kind of thing where like I took a lot of pictures when it was snowy, and then to like look at it now and be like, yeah, I really have to notice the passing of time here. It's a very different experience than places where it's mostly the same for the year.
Yeah. Yeah. You have it on such a different level. It's funny because in Las Vegas, we're pretty similar to California.
Yeah.
But I do really notice like the plants and the trees.
Yeah.
Because I really don't like winter. I am like, it's the worst time of the year for me. And like, I get so depressed looking at everything.
Yeah.
So then when spring happens and all of a sudden I walk around my neighborhood and there's flowers and all the leaves are coming, I'm like, this is the best feeling in the world.
You still get it.
I still get it a little bit. Yeah.
When people say there aren't seasons in California, like that's not true. So when Drew said that, I was a little bit like, that's not true, but it kind of is.
But totally different from what you're getting over there.
Yeah. Like to the extreme here where like, honestly, because it's rural enough, I'll just say this one last thing. I can like drive along my street and it's almost unrecognizable from winter to spring.
It's amazing.
It's an amazing thing to witness and to absorb, like emotionally.
So sweet.
Howdy, Droobies.
We want to tell you about our sponsor, Positive Medium. We've actually been clients of theirs for at least 10 years, and they take care of all of our website needs for thedrewsam.com.
They offer custom web design and professional coding, search engine optimization, marketing, and hosting. So we've been hosted by them, but we've also been able to take advantage of a lot of their expertise in these other areas as well.
Absolutely. So customer service is the biggest draw for us with this company. They have saved our site literally from obliteration quite a few times. But then they also help us with minor issues in just like literally a matter of minutes. So if we have like a coding question or just like something on the back end we can't figure out, we reach out to them and we get an answer back and the issue is solved within moments.
We're so excited that Positive Medium is allowing us to offer our listeners 25% off managed WordPress hosting plans using our promo code DREW, D-R-E-W, of course. And if you want to take advantage of this, visit positivemedium.com. We really, really vouch for these people. They've been so great to us and will continue to be great to us. I can only imagine.
I mean, they're great by offering this to our listeners. So take advantage. Again, it's promo code DREW, of course.
So then we get to the acknowledgements. We just want to quickly shout out some of the people Drew shouted out. So obviously there's all the people who worked on the book, who we mentioned at the beginning. She has her usual work family, all the same names that we know have done so many projects. But I love this. She gives a special note to Chris Miller, says he's the best partner, best person, my trusted brother.
I love it so much. And he appears in a photo earlier in the book.
Yeah.
We love Chris so much. If you're listening, Chris, for some reason, we love you. Please come on the pod.
We haven't officially asked him.
Yeah, we haven't asked him, but if you want to just offer yourself, cool.
Of course, with a nice thank you or acknowledgement to Olive and Frankie, where she says, I love you more than all the words in all the books.
Oh, that's so sweet. And we mentioned her handwriting. One of the times we know for sure it's her handwriting, if you go to the credits page, there's a little tiny recipe with a spoon laying on top, and that is Drew's handwriting. I love that little picture. We'll
include that one. I already took a picture of it to include.
And this is so funny. So you and I noticed this at different parts of the book. There's a tiny sketch of Drew's bird tattoo that appears at the very end. And there's also one on the title page.
It's so weird.
It is so funny and so cute.
The crazy thing is that's the only tattoo that we have no idea like anything about. It just appeared. She never talked about it. We don't know what it signifies. And so for it to be like important enough that she included it twice in this book at the beginning and end, I'm like, what? What does this mean?
Did she get it when she was with Justin Long?
Yes.
Well, you know what? We should just say right now. We have a tattoos episode. You should check that out.
Number 12. It's a good one. It's a popular one.
Where we talk about all of them. But that's, like you said, that's probably the one we have the least information about.
Yeah, we were like, we don't know what happened here. She just showed up with this bird on her arm.
We do know that she loves perching birdies, though.
That's true.
And now we'll just talk about the recipes a little bit. We didn't get into this too much, even though we are like, we love food. We're not foodies. We're here for Drew. So
we're not a food podcast.
So the recipes are sectioned in the book into breakfast, lunch, dinner, sides, and salads. There are lots of vegan and veggie modifications, which is so cool. Drew was vegetarian forever. Yeah. Ashley and I have been vegetarian for a long time. I'm pescatarian technically now, and Drew also eats meat, but I love that they honored that part of the diet. Yeah. Like, it's important. It's rad. Tested by our girl. Like, hell yeah.
So we both decided for this episode, we would each cook a recipe out of the book, which was a really fun idea. And I'm glad because like it made me finally do it.
Yeah.
I had considered there's a quinoa risotto that I still really want to make. In fact, I like half bought the ingredients for it a couple months ago and then didn't do it. Oh my God. Because I love quinoa.
Yeah.
And there's also a harissa spaghetti. That was the one Mila wanted, but I was quickly shopping in Trader Joe's and didn't know where harissa would be. And it was like, I don't have time.
Yep.
And then there's a greenwa with charred romaine pesto. So it's like quinoa with greens.
So good.
I have to make that eventually.
Yeah.
But because I am a lazy cook and I was in a hurry at the store, I ended up doing the pasta al limon with peas, the classic version.
Yep.
Drew used bucatini, which she loves. I don't really like bucatini, which is funny because I like almost all pasta. So it said you could substitute linguine. So that's what I did.
Very cool. And how did you like it?
I loved it. I love lemon. We've talked about that on the pod many times. And I love an easy recipe. So this doesn't have a lot of ingredients. It doesn't use a lot of pans and pots and all that. Yep. It was very much speaking to my style. I cooked it for my family. I can't really go wrong making pasta for Mila. And yeah, she really liked it. Jason liked it. We ended up adding a little salt and pepper. It wasn't quite seasoned enough for our taste. Maybe we have dull palates. I don't know. But yeah, it was great and easy. So I'll probably make it again because I still have mascarpone cheese, which is one of the ingredients, which isn't something I would normally have on hand. Most of the other stuff I would normally just have in my house. So it was perfect.
I remember you saying, we're out of peas.
Oh my God. Yeah. So the first night I went to make it, I'm like, cool, getting everything out. I go in the freezer. No frozen peas. We always have frozen peas. So I didn't even think about checking for it. So anyway, Jason was sweet enough the next day. He went and got me some so I could make it for dinner.
Very cool. I just got to say, I love that we did this because it allowed us to like get into this a little bit more. And there was a moment when I was like, do I need to cook something? And you're like, yes, like you have to, especially because, you know, I like cooking. So it was good for me.
Yeah.
So many recipes sounded good to me, as even ones that were like including fish because it's new to me. But there were so many I hadn't tried yet. I wasn't feeling like, you know, ready to do that. Yeah. Yes. Like I almost did the blackened tuna and cherry tomato and jicama salsa because I was like, that sounds so good. And I had just seen tuna, but it was a different type of tuna at the store. So I was like, I'm not ready.
Okay.
The Kelly tartine sounds so good, even though it's like,
I know.
Like I would have that every day.
I keep meaning to do that one too. And there's like no excuse for
I know. Because I
so
like usually have some of that stuff. So that one sounded so good. I'm definitely going to make it this summer. I love that the quote from in that like little intro said, if you're ever curious what California tasted like in the 70s, this is it.
So good.
What I ended up making though, after all, was the harissa spaghetti. So what Drew
Yay.
called her quote unquote signature dish. I did feel like it was maybe missing something, or that one of the flavors was kind of like taking too much space in the flavor of it. So I want to make it again. There are a couple like optional parts of the recipe. Like you could put parsley and oregano, and I only had oregano, and I feel like the oregano was overpowering. Either way, I love the flavor of the harissa. It's like just slightly spicy. I like spice, so I would probably put more of it.
Oh.
But I really enjoyed it. And it had me use chickpea pasta. And she's like, I recommend Bonza. And I love Bonza chickpea pasta. I don't know if you've tried it.
I haven't, which is insane because I am a chickpea fanatic and I have a box in my pantry and I haven't had it.
But they don't taste like chickpea at all.
Okay.
I think the spaghetti does a good job of seeming just like normal spaghetti. Some of the other Bonza shapes, like I really like the penne.
Yeah, that's one I have.
Okay, yeah. So I think you'll like it. It's just different. You just have to like, you know, when you taste it.
Mentally prepare yourself.
Yes, when you taste it for like readiness, like it's sort of like, is that done? But then once you put sauce on it and stuff, it's just like whatever. Cool. But it was a lot of fun. I really liked making it. It had like a handful of ingredients, and I took a bunch of pictures while I was doing it. It was the first time I've made my own sauce like from tomatoes.
Oh, that's cool.
It said to get 2 pints of cherry tomatoes. I was like, that seems like a lot. I'm just going to do 1. And now I see why, because it cooks down so much.
Okay.
But I have a lot of leftovers anyway. So that was so much fun. I'm so glad that we both did something, and we will share at least one picture of us with our dish.
Yay, so fun.
Yeah, that was so much fun.
So to close out this episode, you might have noticed we didn't do our wonderful Drew Loves segment. Well, we're doing it now because I compiled everything from the book.
So fun.
And like, again, these are like in the sentence, I love blank. So the things where she says like, oh, I loved doing that. Like that's not included. So there's, this is like.
And I'm going to try to shut up unless I really want to reply to something because there are so many.
I know. I need to take a deep breath. All right. Drew loves honey, cumin, saffron, cracked black pepper, cookbooks, creamy pasta, making soups and having soup for breakfast. Seeing the world, being a curator, creating her own opportunities. Rice, all noodles in every single shape and size.
Yes.
The Cholula, which is a hot sauce.
I love Cholula.
I thought so.
I'm going to say one thing about Cholula. I got a burrito, which was not like a California burrito. I had it with the salsa from the place. And when I had my leftovers, I was like, Cholula! And then it was like
way
so much better. So anyway, I just had an experience recently where I was reminded of its love. And
all right. Drew also loves loading up on cheese and carbs some days.
Yeah.
Heat and spice. To use her fish spatula, which she talks about that on the show a lot.
I'm going to get one, by the way. I almost bought one from the grocery store yesterday.
She loves a good steak once in a while. Unfortunately, no. It's fine. You do you, Drew. She loves a costume party and a theme party.
Yes.
Holidays, a game and a dinner party.
Yeah.
Busying people, like giving them things to do.
Yep.
Shrimp.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of a gratin anything. And then lastly, a good fresh crunch, which makes me want to go eat a salad right now.
And you know what's funny is that I learned something about celery that Pilar told her to peel the celery before she uses it anything. And I was like, I've never peeled celery.
Yeah, same.
The outside has like a stringiness to it, you know?
Yeah.
Do you like celery?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so we're gonna have to do a follow-up where we both talk about having that. having
peeled celery.
Peeled celery, yes.
Okay, good homework assignment.
Peeling celery.
Oh, that was really fun. I'm glad we went through this book finally. It definitely like seemed a little daunting at first, but it was really like enjoyable, pleasant experience. It's a really nice feeling going through this book. I don't really know how to put it into words, but it just is a good experience. It's enjoyable.
It feels like a peek into a really specific part of Drew's life.
There you go. Yeah.
It's pretty intimate. Even though there wasn't anything super surprising to us in it, it feels good. It's a feel good book.
It is for sure.
Yeah.
Of course. Like what else would Drew do? Okay. So thanks you guys. Thanks for listening. Again, we want to once again reiterate how much we appreciate all the reviews that were left on Apple Podcasts.
Yes!
It's so fun to see those things there now. And if you haven't done that yet and you want to get in on it, go for it. I also made a URL from this thing. It's just called lovethepodcast.com and then / how do you Drew. So if you want a shortcut for how to leave us a review, that will take you to all the platforms. It's
Very cool.
Yeah. And then you can follow us on Instagram at How Do You Drew Pod. That's also our TikTok handle. If you're not an Instagram person, I feel like I should mention the reels that we post on Instagram. We also put on TikTok. So if you're a TikTok person, go check that out. And then we also on Instagram are at Drewseum for all kinds of Drew content.
Make sure also to visit our website at howdoyoudrew.com if you want to see any of our favorite pictures from this episode, or just, it's a great resource. Drewseum.com, where we have it hosted, is our OG website that we've had up for 17 years now. So it's 17 and a half years almost. And almost exactly 17 and a half years. Anyways, send listener mail to howdoyoudrewpod@gmail.com. I think I mentioned something earlier that she should email us about. Oh, if you're a new listener, let us know where you found us. We really want to know how people are finding us. And just reach out. We're super accessible. We like hearing from people. We want to hear how you feel about the show in any way. If you want to write those reviews, do you want to write to us?
We want to interact with you guys.
Yes. Okay, so I have my question to take us out this week. What is your favorite type of apple?
Oh, easy. Granny Smith. Boom.
Oh, wow. That was quick.
I eat one almost every day. I am
nice.
A big Granny Smith girl.
Do you know what my favorite is? I think we've talked about this before.
I want to say, I just going to guess a Honeycrisp, but that's probably just because
that's
my second favorite.
Pink Lady.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not everywhere, but they are damn good.
I love it.
I'll see you next Thursday.
Yay. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Bye.
This episode of the How Do You Drew podcast was researched and produced by Ashley and Ann from thedrewseum.com with help from our sponsor, Positive Medium.
Special thanks to Matt Costa for our lovely theme song, Roxy Prima for our adorable logo, and last but not least, Drew Barrymore and all the Drewbies who love her. We do this for you.
Thank you.